friends, today we are going to discuss about sodium ion transport in renal tubules. This is a question which has appeared in the NET examination on June 2018. It's a part C question. Now, the question actually asks about the presence of sodium ion transport in different sites of the renal tubule. Here you can see that there are different sites given here. One is the proximal tubule, thick ascending loop of Henle, early distal tubule and late distal tubule and collecting duct. Now you have to match these with wherever these are present. Now the different segments of renal tubule and the mechanism of sodium ion transport in the apical membrane of tubular cells are tabulated below. So in order to match these, like sodium chloride symporter, sodium plus selective channel, sodium glucose symporter, and here you can see one sodium ion, one K plus ion and two chloride symporter. You have to decide in which of these positions these symporters or the selective channels are present. In order to answer this, you need to know the theory behind it. This single image will help you to answer this question. Starting from the proximal convoluted tubule, this is the proximal convoluted tubule, you can see that a reabsorption of sodium ion happens here, as well as amino acids, glucose, carbonate, phosphorus, etc. also happens here. So this is directly the glomerulus. The blood will be entering through this. So the primary filtration happens here. Then it enters into the proximal convoluted tubule. So in this tubule, the reabsorption of sodium as well as amino acids and glucose happens. So this is the first point to note out. Now here you could also see there is a passive reabsorption of sodium chloride also. Now this is the descending limb of the renal tubule. Here you can see there is a passive absorption of H2O water into the medulla. Whereas in the ascending limb, you could see here, clearly see here, there is a reabsorption of one sodium ion, one K plus ion as well as two chloride ions. So these are being actively transported into the interstitious tissues or in the medulla, renal medulla. Here, this is the thick ascending limb as well as it goes towards the distal convoluted tubule, in which you could see there is an active reabsorption of sodium chloride itself. Now finally coming into the cortical collecting duct, here you can see sodium ion is selectively reabsorbed again. So in the final filtrate, there will be only water. So according to this question, you could see that the sodium absorption happens in the PCT, which is proximal convoluted tubule, along with glucose and amino acids here in the PCT. Sodium chloride is also passively absorbed here in the PCT. Now after that, it's directly in the ascending limb. You can clearly see that there is a reabsorption of sodium, potassium as well as two chloride ions in the ascending limb of the renal tubule. And finally in the distal convoluted tubule, you could see sodium chloride reabsorption as well as selective absorption of sodium ions in the cortical collecting duct. So this figure will help you to answer the question above. Here you could see regarding proximal tubule, which will be the best match? Sodium chloride's importer, diffusion through sodium selective channel, sodium glucose importer, and sodium K plus 2 chloride's importer. Regarding proximal tubule, you should remember that there was a sodium glucose importer, whereas sodium ions, glucose as well as amino acids, bicarbonate, phosphate was moving through or reabsorbed. So A will be matching with third option 3. A will be 3. Now regarding thick ascending loop of Henle, you had seen that in the ascending loop of Henle there was the reabsorption of one sodium ion, one potassium ion, and two chloride ions. So B will be 4. And now C, early distal tubule. In the distal tubule, you had seen the reabsorption of sodium as well as chloride ions. So C will be 1. And finally, in the D, it is late distal tubule and collecting duct, where you had already seen that sodium ions was selectively being reabsorbed. So D will be 2. The answer is the option 1, which is A3, B4, C1 and D2.